Hello, everybody. Let's talk about color today. As you can see from my office, I love color. And if you are just joining and you don't know me, I'm Lauren, the cheerful baker. And I've been decorating cookies for about a decade. And I am a previous, or I was an art teacher. So absolutely love color. And for me, color theory, color mixing is easy because I've done it for such a long time. But from talking to people, I've found that not everybody feels that way. That color is something that is pretty confusing. So I'm just going to kind of break down the basics of color and color theory. And then starting, hopefully, oh, I don't know how to turn. I thought my phone was on silent, but apparently it wasn't. Anyway, I am going to start posting videos. Hopefully, I'll get the first one done this afternoon, which will show you exactly what I'm talking about because with color, you kind of have to see it. So, good morning, Wendy. If you're on, please tell me good morning and tell me where you are from. I live in Versailles, Kentucky, and I'm looking out my window at the dreariest, ugliest day. And it was 70 degrees yesterday, and today it might snow. So it's kind of insane. It's kind of insane where we are. So be sure and say hello. Tell me where you're from. I'd love to know. But let's talk a little bit about color. Royal icing, it matters, right? Because Myrtle Beach, South Carolina, nice. It matters because if you want to have a cohesive or a nice looking cookie set, you really need to be able to coordinate your colors together. So we're going to just kind of start out with the basics. And I'm just going to teach you a little bit about the basics. And then we will talk about how to mix some colors and what my favorite gel colors are and what I use. Hello, Pamela from Thomasville, Georgia. Gosh, you all are in warm areas. I'm kind of jealous. So let's look at the color wheel. The color wheel is something that you really should be familiar with if you are an artist. And if you are a cookie decorator, then you're definitely an artist. Hello, Joan. So this is the basic color wheel. There are three primary colors. And what a primary color is, it is a color that cannot be made from another color. So truthfully, if you had three gel colors, if you had primary colors, then you honestly can make the rest of the colors. But the primary colors are yellow, blue, and red. And then those color combinations together mix up to make the other colors, the secondary colors. So if you look at the color wheel and you look at yellow and red, in the middle of that is orange because that's what you mix to make orange, yellow, and red. The same goes with blue and yellow. In the middle is green. So if you don't have green, you can just mix blue and yellow. Purple is made from red and blue. So that's kind of basic color theory that a lot of you all probably learned in kindergarten. But that's really important. And the reason that it's good to have a color wheel is if you have orange and you need a different shade or tint of orange, a different color orange, then just by having a basic color wheel, you can know, well, maybe I can make it a little bit lighter by adding a little bit of yellow or make it a little bit darker by adding a little bit of red. And so that is why I found this color wheel. I just put in basic color wheel and this came up on Google. You can find it everywhere. Now let's talk about how to use complementary colors because this is my favorite trick for creating colors, especially for spring because we're getting ready to come into spring. Oftentimes, it's hard to make sage green, celery green. For Easter, there's always a lot of the real muted pink, not necessarily a light pink. And so I'm going to give you the trick on how to do that. Hey, Tracy. Oh, it's early for you, Tracy. Thank you for joining. Are you still in bed? Hey, Denise. So let's take red and green because those are the colors that I use mixed together the most often. If all you have in your arsenal of colors is a leaf green, and many people, that's the only green that they have because that's a very, very common green. And you want to make a more muted shade of that green. You want to make a more sort of a celery green or a green that you would think of as a spring green. You actually add in the complementary color, which is red. Is that the weirdest thing ever? But it works every single time. Hey, Brescia. So, um, you add in the complementary color. Now you add in just a teeny tiny little bit of the complementary color. If you add too much, you just add more of the original color you started with. So let's take red and green again. Let's say you have red and you want that really pretty kind of salmon color. And you think, how in the world do I get that? You add green. It's the complementary color. Complementary colors mute down whatever color you have in your bowl. It is the craziest thing you have ever seen. You have to try it. So if all you have are the basic, more vibrant colors, which a lot of the icing color is a little bit more vibrant, you can always add a little touch of the complementary color and it will tone it down. Um, Another thing that you can do is you can mix complementary colors together to make brown. So if you mix, um, let's say purple, orange, and green, believe it or not, you will have brown. Or if you just start mixing the colors together, you're either going to get brown or gray, but complementary colors mixed together will give you brown just about every time. Now, there's 3 different types of well, does anybody have a question about that? About the basic color wheel? Um, Let me share one other little trick that or tip that this color wheel shows so well. Okay, do you see purple and blue right here? One of the hardest colors to make is navy, and, when before we know it, it's gonna be time for graduation cookies, and everybody will be saying, "How do I make navy? How do I make navy?" You make navy by mixing purple and blue. Now, a lot of people will say mix blue and black, but that has never worked well for me. But just like it shows on this color wheel, mix purple and blue and you will get navy almost every time. The same thing goes for maroon. That's a really popular color for graduation. So if you mix red and purple, you will get maroon. And of course, this depends on what kind of color you use. Please tell me I can watch this later. Yes, Pamela, it will be on my Facebook page. So those 2 colors are really tricky. Another very tricky color is red. So let's just go ahead and talk about that. My go-to red color is from it's called Super Red from Chef Master, and it is the only red that I use. It works incredibly well. The same thing with black. Super black and super red from Chef Master just cannot be beat. They do not have a bad taste, and you don't have to use tons and tons of color. Now, I really suggest making those colors ahead of time because they do darken, and you want to give people cookies that taste good. And if it has too much red or black, not only is it gonna taste good, but sometimes it will affect the drying time of your icing, or it won't dry at all because it's oversaturated. So I always make those colors in advance. I usually have them in my freezer because if I have some left over, I will put it in my freezer and just pull it out and defrost it for the next time. Another tip for making black is don't start with white icing. Take some icing. Hopefully you all don't throw your icing away. Keep it in the freezer. Take some icing that's in your freezer. It doesn't matter what color it is. Mix it together. You will get this ugly brown yuck color. If you just mix a bunch of colors together, then add your black to it because you're not starting with a white base and it's going to be a lot easier to get the black. Another thing that many people do is add cocoa powder to their icing because it makes it dark, and then you can go ahead and add the black, and then it tastes good too, right? It kind of tastes chocolatey. Let's see, the kind of color to use. Now, there are, of course, all kinds of different colors that you can use. My favorite is not the Chef Master. My favorite is the Sugar Art. I've used it for years and years. I use Chef Master for black and red, but every other color I use from the Sugar Art. It's the best color. You don't have to use.
Stacy Hubby Jacobs.
Oh,
Stacy Hubby Jacobs.
my husband's calling. Hold on. My husband's calling. I got this new phone and I do not know how to turn the. Hold on just one second. I don't. Oh, here. I just figured it out. Okay. Anyway, sorry about that. People always call me when I'm on lives. It's so funny. It's just the way that things happen. But the Sugar Art is wonderful because they have such an array of colors. It is incredible how many different shades and tones they have of color. So you don't have to be a color mixing expert. You can just get their whole set. I just love the Sugar Art. And the owners of the company are the nicest people in the world. So, you like to support nice people, and they are the nicest people, but they also have an incredible product. You can also use dusts. They have Master Elites, which are designed to go into icing, which is what I used to use all the time. But now, because they have gel color, I use the gel color. What you don't want to use is you do not want to use liquid colors from the grocery store because you'll have to use so much of them. They're so diluted, and it's going to mess up your beautiful consistency of your icing. So you only want to use gel colors. Let's see what else. Oh, there are colors that you can get that are natural colors. Like they use beets for the red and spirulina, I think, for the blue or the green. I can't remember. But anyway, those are great if you want a more natural approach, but you want to make sure that you don't use a lot of them. You're only going to get really light colors by using those, because if you try to create darker colors, a lot of times the taste of that vegetable that they use will come through, and you don't necessarily want that. Now let's talk just very, very briefly about color bleeding, because of course that's a problem. That's one of the number one problems that people have. I have never, and I want to knock on wood before I say this. Probably in the past 5 years, I have not experienced color bleeding. So there's 2 reasons that I think I can say that, because there's 2 reasons. One, it's my recipe. It's my icing recipe. It makes a difference what icing recipe you use. I really believe, because I do not have color bleeding. So if you are in need of a better recipe, you can go to cheerfulbaker.com, and I have a blog post all about royal icing. And let's see if I'll pull it up here in just a second and show you all. Also, you want to make sure that your colors are dry, especially if you have a base color, that they're dry before you add details, especially if you're using the red, for Valentine's Day, and you wanna add white next to it. I really recommend that you allow the red to dry very, very well. And another thing is I use a dehydrator, and it is a game changer. I mean, it's incredible. I use a Cabela's dehydrator. I put it, on a very low temperature. I usually put mine at 95 degrees for 20 minutes, and then I put the temperature down to room temperature, so around 65, and it's just like they're in front of a fan, but it really prevents the colors from, bleeding. So while I look up this blog post, tell me some questions that you all have about color. Does anybody have a question about color? And I will be right back if I can find this real quickly. I would have done this before, but I really didn't think about it. um okay, hold on. I'm trying to find it. Here we go. I found it. Okay, so let's take this off and let me share this. So right here, if you go to cheerfulbaker.com and you go to resources, Cheerful Baker blog, I have lots of resources in here. One is your ultimate guide to meringue powder icing, and I think that should be really, really helpful. But the one about royal icing is right here with these cute little hot pink flamingos. So I have the recipe, and I have exactly how I do it. And of course, humidity and everything else does make a difference. So maybe if you have color bleed, you live in an area that has a lot of humidity. So you might want to get a dehumidifier. I live in Kentucky. We have a dehumidifier, and it really makes a difference. My black is always gray, never my black is always gray, never actually gets black. Because is that because of a cheaper brand? It's very possible. Um, I would say probably yes. I don't know what you're using, but different brands, it does make a difference. I would absolutely go to Chef Master Super Black. You just won't even believe. And also, icing dries darker. So if you have a very, very dark gray, you think it's not quite dark enough, you might be surprised when you put it onto your cookie that it dries much darker than you think that it will. You can always test that out by putting some on parchment paper even and allowing it to dry and seeing what color. So let's see what else I wanted to tell you all. I had some notes, so I don't want to leave anything out. Oh, there are 2 apps that will help. Hold on. One is called the Coolors, Coolors, and that is a really great app that you can put on your phone or your iPad. I'm not sure if it works on the computer, it might. And you can put in it is an app that will help you with putting together colors that look good together. And so once you put in one color, you can it'll bring in other colors that coordinate. And you can pick and choose the ones that you want to keep, and it'll continue trying to find you colors. That is a great app. It's Coolors. My favorite way to do that is through the Procreate app on the website, or I mean, on the iPad. It is such a great tool, Procreate. If you have an iPad, go buy it today. It will change your life. But what you do with the Procreate app is you're gonna, and you can watch this again, so you'll know where to find this. We're at the 20-minute mark. What you do is you scroll through Instagram, Pinterest, whatever app you want to scroll through that has photos of cookies. It doesn't even have to be cookies, but I always use cookies. And you find a color palette that you like. It's just something that speaks to you. You don't have to like every single color, but you look at that color and you think, "Oh, I really like those colors." Or let's say you have an invitation from a customer and you want to know what colors to use. You take a picture of the invitation, or you download the picture that you were looking at. And what you're going to do is you're going to import that into Procreate. You're just going to put it into Procreate. And then in Procreate, they have this color disc at the top right. And what you're going to do is you're going to select a new palette. And palettes can be created from photos. So you tell it that you want to create a palette from an image, and it will create the palette for you. It is the greatest thing ever. Now, it will give you, gosh, way too many choices, but it's a really, really good starting place if you want to figure out what colors you like. If you don't know, I have a cookie cutter subscription box. And one thing, we send it out every month. It has a new theme every month. And one thing that we do is we give our subscription box subscribers the colors to use, because we want to take the guesswork out of that. And that can be just overwhelming for a lot of people. So let's see what this one says. I use Chef Master Black Diamond and have been very pleased with the black I get, deep black I get, and give your color time to develop. I always make my colors the night before I need them, or at least the morning, and use them in the evening. Yes, Chef Master Black Diamond is another great one. Super Black, Chef Master, they've done black right. I love it. Then let's do this one. Wendy, I just want to let you know how much I've enjoyed your podcast. Oh, thank you, Wendy. I binged it a few weeks ago and it had me laughing, crying, and feeling so inspired. I can't wait each week for the new episode. That just made my day. Thank you. So, if you all haven't listened to my podcast, it's called Sugar Coated Dreams. And I want to encourage you all to reach for your dreams, because I always say I'm a mom who started baking in my kitchen in this teeny weeny little small town in Kentucky. And I've been incredibly fortunate. I mean, I've been on TV, I've been featured in magazines, I was featured in a book. I mean, just unbelievable things, just because I took the chance to make cookies in my kitchen when my kids were little. So I want to inspire you, and that's what the podcast is all about. So I think that that's really the basic information that I wanted to share about the basics of color theory. Remember the complementary color trick? It is, you just won't even believe it. My goal for you in the next week, I want you to just get some icing and get some color and try mixing and try using the complementary color trick, because you just won't even believe the colors that you can come up with. It is so much fun. Just make one batch and say, this is the batch that I'm going to waste, and I'm just going to have fun. And if you have children, do this with your kids, because I'm telling you, knowing color theory, knowing the color wheel just can help you in so many different aspects of your life. So I guess that's all for today. there will be a new episode of the Sugar Coated Dreams podcast, hopefully tomorrow. I have an unbelievably busy day. So if I don't get it done, then you can go on there and you can listen to a past episode. And last week I told my story. So if you're interested in all about that, you can listen to that. And if anybody, I'll give y'all 30 more seconds to ask any question that you want to about color. But this month is all about royal icing. So while I give you all that time, I also am going to show you one more thing. If you go to my website, which is cheerfulbaker.com, and you go to the very bottom, you will see a calendar. So this is the calendar of events for February. You can, next week, we're going to talk about how to create edible cookie decorations using royal icing. The next week is how to personalize cookies. The next week is how to fix common icing mistakes. And then in our subscriber only group, we're going to do a deep dive on royal icing consistencies. And then that leads me to, if you go over to my Instagram, which is The Cheerful Baker, I put a Reels video on there last night that tells different consistencies, what they look like when you pull your knife out of the bowl and you have the little tip, how to look at that and kind of gauge whether your consistency might be right. Oh, one more question. Do you add white color to your base icing? Never. I've never done that. I don't understand the reasoning for that. I know people says that it helps prevent color bleeding. I don't have color bleeding because I think that has more to do with your recipe. But I don't know that for sure. Now my icing is bright white, and I also do not use clear vanilla. To get bright white icing, you need to make sure that you mix your royal icing long enough. As long as you mix it for at least 3 minutes, and really no more ever than 4, 5 at the very, very most, because it'll get spongy. As long as you mix it enough, it's going to be bright white. It doesn't matter if you use clear vanilla, regular vanilla, white. It doesn't matter. You're gonna start out with white icing. So no, I don't add white color. I want this to be easy. I don't want to add a lot of extra stuff, and that's just one more bottle of color that I have to buy, right? Pam, but that was a great question. Pam, thank you so much. I really needed this. I know it's easy for you, but it's always baffled me. Oh, it is. And that's why I did it. And it's so interesting, Pamela, because I thought, gosh, this is so basic. Are people going to be interested? But then I have to tell myself what's basic for me is not basic for everyone else. It's just that I have a lot of knowledge about color. So if you have any questions, or if you're listening to this on the replay, then ask them. And thank you for joining me today. And watch out for the reels that I'm going to start posting on Facebook and Instagram. And I'm going to show you, how to do some color. Tracy, I always learn something interesting or new from you. That means a lot to me, Tracy, because you've heard me talk a lot. I appreciate all of you all. Have a wonderful day. And I am going to pack subscription boxes. So if you're a subscriber, they're going out in the mail today. It's very exciting. See y'all later. Have a great day. Bye.